In that same debate, you had Kamala Harris making the claim also repeatedly, many times since, that women are bleeding out in parking lots, when there isn't a shred of evidence of a single woman bleeding out in the parking lot of a hospital.
Well, there was actually a woman who died in Georgia who, because there were two women, in fact, one in particular who couldn't receive the care that she needed.
There's no evidence of a woman bleeding out in a parking lot. My point is the kind of rhetoric that's used across the board.
Have you seen evidence of Haitian migrants eating pets? Like, if we're going to talk about evidence, have you seen evidence of Haitian migrants eating pets?
That's Vivek Ramaswamy triggering a smug and combative CNN host into pushing more Democrat propaganda by defending Kamala Harris's lies during the biased presidential debate. Welcome to Nerk News. I'm Nerkish, and it looks like we're going on the second straight week of CNN bringing up Trump and Vance's comments about Haitian migrants 24/7. Because despite it being covered to death and outcries from liberals about Trump's rhetoric leading to a rise in hate crime being thoroughly debunked by the mayor and governor, CNN can't seem to help itself from fear-mongering and pushing liberal talking points.
People believe that we should admit migrants who are going to be reliant on Medicaid or welfare, then they could represent that view. But we haven't been having that debate today. Those are the kinds of issues I explore in my book, focusing on the substance rather than in the mudslinging that we sometimes see in the media-driven, social media-fueled political discourse. We need to speak about stone-cold hard truths and have that debate even when it's uncomfortable in the open. That's how I think we're going to save the country. It's a big part of why I wrote this book. And I also think that I'd like to see that standard applied a little more even-handedly across the board. In that same debate, you had Kamala Harris making the claim also repeatedly, many times since, that women are bleeding out in parking lots, when there isn't a shred of evidence of a single woman bleeding out in the parking lot of a hospital.
Well, there was actually a woman who died in Georgia who, because there were two women, in fact, one in particular who couldn't receive the care that she needed.
There's no evidence of a woman bleeding out in a parking lot. My point is the kind of rhetoric that's used across the board.
Have you seen evidence of Haitian migrants eating pets? Like, if we're going to talk about evidence, have you seen evidence of Haitian migrants eating pets?
Having gone to Springfield, I didn't see that evidence, but what I will tell you is I'm bringing that up because you brought up the Haitian migrant point. There are residents in the community that had pointed to that. There isn't even that level of a shred of evidence to support a single woman in the United States bleeding out in a parking lot. Yet that's been a repeated claim made by Kamala Harris.
Now, I assume the woman she's talking about in Georgia is a 28-year-old medical assistant who died in 2022 from taking medication to terminate the twins she was pregnant with, and it resulted in severe bleeding and infection. Which, call me crazy, but seems like a useful bit of context for that story, because it's not necessarily the same as women bleeding to death in parking lots for pre-existing medical conditions or complications due to pregnancy. And it's certainly different from 20,000 migrants being flown into a small town in Ohio, because unlike the tragic story of that woman in Georgia, the residents of that town had no choice in the matter.
So I think when we're getting into fact-checking, I think we should apply the same standards 360 degrees. And I think we should not use Kamala Harris's quote there to sidestep a debate about abortion policy, just as we shouldn't use some other quote as an excuse to sidestep a debate about immigration policy. And a core thesis of this book is let's not use the fringe words that somebody on either side might say, and let's focus on the actual content of the debate, even when we disagree most. I think that's going to be a key step to reviving our country. And the beauty of America is we can disagree badly, and I believe still get together at the dinner table at the end of it. That's the America I miss when I grew up not that far from Springfield myself. And I think that's the America I'd like to see us revive, and that was a core motive for me writing the book that we're releasing today.
All I will say is that we did see that the family of the woman in Georgia, they were at the event where Kamala Harris did an interview with Oprah, and they heartbreakingly had lost their daughter, who, of course, was also a mother. But look, Vivek Ramaswamy, I really appreciate your time today. I'm sure we're going to see much more of you on our political scene. And like I said, congrats on the book. Thank you very much for your time.
You know, it's hilarious how these interviews are starting to feel more and more like watching someone deal with their naggy wife or something. These female liberal pretend journalists always have to say something to get the last word in before trying to move on to the next pathetic attempt to get a soundbite. They never frame their comments as a question or allow for follow-ups, and they seem to be far more concerned with combing through 10 years worth of media to pounce on a joke J.D. Vance made than they are with simply looking at their own footage to understand someone's take on a story they're trying to manufacture or beat into the ground to make conservatives look bad. It's why we're left with these ridiculous segments where Republicans have to go on shows and repeatedly answer questions to controversial topics they've commented on 1,000 times in the past. Well, let me know what you think. Were Harris's comments about women in parking lots comparable to Trump's comments about Springfield, Ohio? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!